Welcome to History Time, and today we are going to look at the name behind a very popular road, LB Road. LB, what does it stand for? Lattice Bridge. And where was this Lattice Bridge? What was its history? That is what we are going to see today. Most people think that the Adyar Bridge, which starts near Satya Studios at the end of Raja Annamalapuram and goes over to Adyar, Tiruvika Palam as it is called, they think that that was Lattice Bridge, but that is not so. It is very easy, of course, to fall into that error because Lattice Bridge Road begins at the southern end of this bridge and then goes on and on and on and on forever. Particularly if you are caught in a traffic jam, it seems to be even longer than normal. But then, Lattice Bridge itself was a very small, inconsequential, but at the same time a strategically important bridge deep down in the south as you approach the city. And what was its history? Before that, we must learn a little about the bridges on this side of the city. The first bridge across the Adyar River was built in the 18th century by the Armenian merchant Koja Petrus Uskan. And that was called the Marmalong Bridge. Why Marmalong? That was the English name for the village of Mambalam. And where is Mambalam in this entire topography? If you had come there in the 18th century and you had turned to your right, you would not have seen the sprawling area of Saidapet and T Nagar. On the other hand, what you would have seen would have been an enormous water body known as the Long Tank of Mylapore, or the tank of Mambalam. And if you looked further, you would have seen far away in the distance the village of Mambalam towards your west. And that is why the bridge was known as the Marmalong Bridge. That remained the primary mode of connecting the two parts. And over a period of time, as traffic and the public population increased, that bridge was done away with, and today we have the Maraimalai Adigal Bridge on the same place, but a much wider construction. The second bridge to come up over the Adyar connected Mylapore with Adyar itself, and that came up in the 1830s. It was named after the then governor of Madras, Lord Elphinstone, and was designed by Captain J.J. Underwood. It still stands. In a few years, it will be 200 years. And where is that bridge? When you go on to Tiruvika Palam, look to your left, and immediately on your side you will see an old bridge spanning the river. That is the Elphinstone Bridge. Would you believe it if I tell you that till the mid-1970s buses used to trundle down that bridge? It is that strong. And it was only from the 1975 or so that we got the present Adyar Bridge, the Tiruvika Bridge. And of course it has been widened much later. Now, where does all this lead you to Lattice Bridge? And why is the road at the end of this bridge called Lattice Bridge Road? In the 1850s, the East India Company decided that it needed a canal to connect Kadalur to Madras city in order to bring wood, tiles, salt, fish, and several other things from the south into the metropolis. And so a south canal was dug. Around 50 years prior to this, in the 1790s, a north canal was also dug, which connected Pulicat to Basin Bridge. In the 1870s, there was a dreadful famine in the whole of Madras Presidency, and people began to flock to the city in search of food. They had to be given some work to do, and the Duke of Buckingham and Chandos decided that the North Canal and the South Canal needed to be connected by an intermediary canal. When this was completed, the whole waterway came to be known as the Buckingham Canal after the Duke, and it became a major means of transportation all the way from Andhra going up to Kadalur. The public of Mylapore and the southern parts of the city, when they needed to go to places like Mamalapuram, used to take the boat and travel along the Buckingham Canal. But if they wanted to do the same thing by road, they would take the Elphinstone Bridge, reach Adyar, and then proceed south. There were two roads for going all the way to Mamalapuram and further south. One was called the Old Mahabalipuram Road, which ran all the way from Taramani and went further south. Today we call it the Rajiv Gandhi Expressway. The second road began at the Elphinstone Bridge and proceeded southwards, and eventually this particular road would connect with Old Mahabalipuram Road near Velachery. When the Buckingham Canal came in the middle, a small bridge had to be constructed at that intersection, and that was the Lattice Bridge, which is why the road leading to it from the Elphinstone Bridge came to be known as Lattice Bridge Road. Lattice Bridge, given its Tamil translation Palagai Varavadi, was not made of wood. It was made of steel. It was a typical army construction, small steel trusses connected together to form a bridge. It was not a very wide bridge, but it performed a very important role because it connected the people of Mylapore and South Madras to areas far away in the distance via the old Mahabalipuram road. This bridge gave its name to that entire road. Imagine such a long thoroughfare being called after a tiny bridge at the end of it. In the 1960s, that bridge was done away with and replaced with a cement bridge, and it still exists just behind the Holiday Inn. It is not a lattice bridge, but the name still survives. For a long period of time, there was practically nothing on Lattice Bridge Road. Just by the Adyar River, you had the Theosophical Society, which came up in the 1880s and still retains its vast campus. Further to the south of that came the residence of the great social worker and doctor, Dr. Muthulakshmi Reddy. And the prominent writer, Kalki Krishnamurti, also lived in this area for some time, which is why eventually LB Road would be named after both of them. One part of it is called Muthulakshmi Reddy Road, and the other half is known as Kalki Krishnamurti Road. But Lattice Bridge Road is how most people refer to it, and in a city where everything is eventually reduced to initials, Lattice Bridge Road became LB Road. I'll be soon back with you with other interesting episodes. Bye for now.